So I just want to say hello and welcome to Natasha Swerdloff, who is a coach, does leadership training, organizational change. Natasha, we're here to talk about something a bit more philosophical and deep, I guess, today, which is all around the nature of who we truly are. But I'd love to learn a little bit about your journey, because I think you have probably changed over the years. If I was to ask you that question, who are you, say, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, you might have had a very different answer than now. So let's just give people a bit of an idea of how you come to where you are now.
Mm. Well, the typical answer to that question, who are you? Most people would start answering with, what do I do? What have I done? What is my education, background, jobs that I've had? Who am I married to? What are my kids' names? Or, all of these things. So it's very typical for us all to look for, from the outside in, to look for who we are. The only problem with doing that is when we look from the outside in, it's all things that can be taken away from us. It's all things that change. If I was going to say, who am I when I was 10, it's not the same as who I am when I'm 20 and 40 and now I'm more than 50. So if we look to what changes, then it doesn't feel like our identity is stable. It feels like it's very rocky. So what happened to me about 8 or 9 years ago was I came across an understanding that allowed me to look to another place for who I am. So instead of looking at all the labels that I have put on myself and that other peoples have put on myself throughout my life, I started to looking towards something that doesn't have a label. And it took me on a journey to see, well, who am I really? Am I a business consultant? Well, it's what I do. I still do the same thing, but I've changed very much the content. Am I a human being? Well, I guess so. I guess I could say that I've been a human being all along. So when I start to look for what I am in essence, and that's where it becomes more philosophical, then I start to find something that has never changed. When I was 5, 10, 15, 30, 50, there's something that hasn't changed. And once I see that, that's where the stability and grounding comes from, that allows me to do much better in life. I perform better. I feel better in relationships. There's not so much rocky terrain anymore. It feels much more stable. It's also where resilience comes from. So looking within and finding that which has been the same always allows me to be in a more gentle conversation with people, allows me to speak from truth and from this space of knowing. I know who I am. And that's very much my work today, is to help people recognize who they really are. It's like we go away from ourselves to try and find ourselves. I have to go to Nepal and run up a mountain, or I have to meditate for 40 years, or whatever it is. But everything that we do is actually taking us away from the fact that we can look within, and then we find everything we need right here.
I'd love to maybe explore that a bit more. And, certainly for me in my role as a coach over the years, if someone had said to me, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, you need to look for your true self, I would have been looking for something to fix and change and make better. Does that make sense? It was almost like there's an unfinished product that somehow I need to get busy working on. And what I'm hearing in what you're saying here is something very different. It's almost beyond all of that. It's at the core and essence of who we are. I'd love you just to describe that a bit more, how you might describe that to maybe your clients or the people that you engage with.
Well, what I usually help to point towards is when people start to, if I say to you right now, like, if you set aside everything you think you are, who you think you are right now, if you could set aside your past, if you could set aside your future, or the thinking that you have about past, future, or who you are right now, if without our thinking, what is left? What is left is, I'm aware, I'm conscious. I have my 5 senses. I can see, hear, feel, touch. right? So there's a consciousness behind my five senses. I'm aware, I'm awake. Now, when I'm grounded in this awakeness or awareness, there's a sense of presence, there's a sense of calm and ease. And you also start getting a sense that it's not something that has a form. Everything in the world of form can be changed or broken. I'm a psychotherapist. That's my original background. And as a psychotherapist, I was trained to look for what's the problem with this person I'm sitting across from, and then find some sort of technique to fix it. That was the whole way I saw it. Now, what I discovered about 8 or 9 years ago is that I started seeing people as not being an object, that who we are in essence is actually what is aware of every object. So there's an awareness. Now, what can we say about awareness? It can't be broken. Why? Because it's not made of anything. It's not a thing. So once you start seeing that my essence is not made of something, it is the awareness that everything arises from. When you really realize that, you start to really know I can't be broken, and neither can anyone else. It's been such a shift in everything that I do, everything in my life, my relationships, and of course the way I work as a coach as well. I don't work in psychotherapy anymore, although I work with people with all kinds of challenges, mental challenges. But to see people as whole is completely different from trying to find out what's wrong with them and then trying to fix it. Now I see you're whole, nothing needs to be fixed. All I need to do is to help you see yourself, that you are not something, you are the awareness behind everything.
You see, even as you say that, it feels so beautiful. It feels like you're seeing beyond all the thoughts, the masks, the beliefs, the everything that I might have up in front of me, that I feel is up in front of me, but you're kind of seeing all through that to something more real, something more grounded and real. And just in this conversation, I get an experience of that. Isn't that interesting? Even as we're talking about it, I get an experience of that. You call it groundedness, that sort of sense of certainty, of knowing within. And I love this because, gosh, certainly my sense is that community and in communities at the moment, it would be so nourishing if we were able to have conversations where we were able to maybe see through all those things that come up in people's lives, right to the heart and core and essence of who people really are. And I just love your take on that. What would your take on that be if we could do this, listening in this way within communities?
Well, the thing is that when we use our senses, as we do all the time, I look at you, you look different than me, you have different color hair and different color clothes, and you're sitting in a different country. And so on the surface level, if that's all I look at, I'm going to see differences. And then I'm going to start thinking about those differences, and I'm going to start to maybe discuss the differences. When we start to look within, we see that the form, because we have no form, the formless is not different. Now I can have a conversation with you from soul to soul. I'm not looking at somebody who's older or younger, or thinner or thicker, or more beautiful or less beautiful, or more educated or less educated. I'm just looking at a soul like me. And that really allows for a much deeper conversation. And when I speak to people from this space, which I do now because it's what I see, they feel that. They feel that I look into their soul. I had one client who at some point, maybe in the third conversation, she turned her camera around and she showed me her home, and she was a hoarder. There were so many things in her, I can't even tell you how much stuff there was, but it was, she had little lanes to walk through to get from one place to another. And she was kind of expecting me to go, or something. I don't know what she was expecting, but I I just saw her still as completely whole and beautiful. And because she felt that in me, because she felt no judgment, all her own judgment started falling away and she started feeling better. So a woman who'd been trapped in anxiety and depression and was suicidal for so long, suddenly at an age of 62, that started falling away, and she started seeing beyond the all the hoarding and the depression and the overeating and all of these things that she did. She started seeing who she really is in essence, and then healing starts. Whereas as a psychotherapist, I would start with, all right, let's make a plan. You've got to clear up a little thing each day. You know, I haven't done that once. And yet now she's changed so many aspects of her life, and just finished a master in counseling at an age of, and she's 63 now. So we've been working for about a year just through that.
Beautiful. And there's, you know, what I heard and what you said there is that as you saw just to who she truly was, what fell away was her judgments about herself. So she was trapped by herself, like we all are trapped by ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's only when we see that we realize we're trapped, because a lot of the time we think it's my job or my husband or my life or my prospects or my bank account. It feels like we're trapped by all those other things. But it was almost like, this is my language now. I'd love your take on it, Natasha, but it was like what was illuminated for her was to suddenly see clearly what was actually keeping her in her prison. And from that space, she didn't have to do anything. She just saw that she didn't have to live like that, to continue living like that.
Yeah. And it really shows the power of love, because what is love? Love is giving without judgment. Like when you really love someone, you don't judge them. Your children, right? You have children and they do something. They pour the milk over the table or something, right? You love them anyway. It might be, you know, you might be annoying and you might go, okay, let's get something to wipe this up with, but you don't stop loving them. So love doesn't have judgment in it, not in its purest form. And when you see someone with pure love, and you can see someone through the eyes of love, because when judgment falls away, you just see there's another human being just like me. And the person might be more or less caught up by thinking, but it's all that ever happens, and it's all that's ever wrong. And I only mean wrong in the only thing that ever gets us away from knowing who we are is our thinking. We get caught up in the way we see the world. We see ourselves as having mistakes, as having faults. I shouldn't have done. I wish I had done. You know, all the guilt and the blame that we put on ourselves. Oh, I should be thinner or more beautiful or more well-educated. I wish I'd married that guy instead of that guy. And you know, all of these things. And it keeps us in a prison, just like you said. So that's really what I point people towards, is how are you imprisoning yourself? And then you start to see that, oh, I actually have the key. I just have to open the door. It wasn't even locked. So I'm actually free to just live my life.
That's beautiful. And so I know that you know, this sense of really seeing to the heart, the core, the essence of someone is beautiful, and seeing through the eyes of love to love is beautiful. And I can imagine people going, yeah, but how do you do that? Like, I want to do that. How do I do that? So how do people do that, Natasha?
Well, even saying, how do I do that, is a doing. And anything that's a doing is a process in the world of form, which is not where the answer is. When you start to recognize in yourself, so I would say that the way to start looking in this direction is to start a self-inquiry process. Who am I really? Who am I behind my labels? It's like we grow up and we're told, oh, you're a cute little girl, and oh, you're certainly good at running, or you're good at math, or whatever it is. And it's like we put little post-it stickers on ourselves. So at a certain age, we're filled with post-it stickers. Well, what if you took all of them off, every single one of them? What's left? It's not like we'd disappear. Something would be here. What is that? What is it in its purest form? And so it's not, I don't try to love people. I don't try to listen in a certain way. I simply do not have any thinking about them, and I have no judgment about them. And then love arises naturally. So it's not a doing, it's just a being. And we all are the same beings. We are human beings. And sometimes we get caught up in the human part, which is all the doing. And when I point people towards their being part, every single person falls into a space naturally. But when I point them there deliberately and they feel it, they're like, oh, it's here. And then, of course, they want to be there more of the time, which is wonderful because it means that they'll look towards that space more of the time.
So there's something about really looking within. And I don't know about you, but certainly I have a bit of a default sometimes, or habitual way of thinking, I need to help others first. It's like, I need to help people. But actually what we're saying here is, no, just look within. It sounds very gentle. It sounds like you don't need to do anything. You can reflect in this way wherever you are. You don't need to go on an expensive course or travel to India, like you said at the beginning. It's a reflection within. I've got to say though, now look, you come across as this really beautiful, inside outly beautiful woman. And are you always like this? Are you a bit human too, or do you just operate from this space all the time?
I actually asked my husband about 3 or 4 weeks ago, because somebody else asked me the same question. And I said, I think 98% of the time, at any given time, you would see me from this calm space. And I asked him, is that true? Or am I making up things about myself? And he said, that's how he sees me too. When I sometimes do get caught up, it usually doesn't take a long time. Like I found myself yesterday being upset with my father, who's 81 and has gained 40 pounds the last year. And so I was upset because he didn't want to change anything, or he was afraid of changing, or whatever it was. And my worry about him, because I want to keep him as long as possible, made me upset. And then when I'd said my piece, I found just immediately I was completely relaxed again, and could say, I love you. I just really care about you, and I want you to be healthy for a long time, so I can have you around for a long time. And so the upsetness was very short-lived, and then it was followed by a deep love. And my father heard that, the love through the sort of temporarily, you should do something, change something, eat less, walk more.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting? You can hear the love even though it's not overtly articulated. It's that which is there. Now look, you and Dick and Bettinger wrote this lovely book, Coming Home. And I just read the little bit on the back, which I just thought, oh, it's so lovely. Within you there is another world. When you become immersed in this inner space, you will never come to the end of what can be revealed to you. That which is revealed will be uplifting and nourishing. And I love that, because in essence, that's exactly what we've been talking about today. And I know the metaphor you use in this book is this kind of sense of coming home, isn't it?
It is. And it's a space that every single person knows. Every child, every grown-up, we all know the feeling of being home. It's just that we think that it's somewhere outside of ourselves. So we go looking for it in, if I make more money, if I have a bigger job or a bigger car or a better house or a better husband or wife. When we look outside of ourselves, we try and find that space of home, but we're turtles. We can't leave it. It's always here. So changing our view from out there to in here allows us to rest in this space and allows us to live from this space. And it's just a much easier and happier life.
That's beautiful. Now, Natasha, if people want to learn a bit more about your work, or to find out about how they might be able to connect with you, how might they do that?
I have a website called theprinciplesinstitute.com, and it has what I do, and it has lots of free videos, including some with you, Liz, from years back when you interviewed me about coaching. That was when I was very early in my journey from transitioning from a sort of a outside-in coach to an inside-out coach. There's lots of free videos. I also have a YouTube channel. So if you Google my name, Natasha Swerdloff, I have lots of videos, free videos there as well. And then there's, of course, the book Coming Home that I wrote with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Dickon Bettinger.
And it's a beautiful book.
Thank you.
Natasha, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute delight and pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for inviting me.